There is something I want you to understand before you change your life. The world has a strange habit of confusing kindness with weakness. If you are patient, they think you are afraid. If you stay calm, they believe you have no strength. If you forgive, they assume you have forgotten. That is one of the greatest misunderstandings people make. They look at your silence and think it is surrender. They look at your humility and mistake it for a lack of confidence. They never stop to ask themselves a simple question. What if this person is choosing peace? Not because they are powerless, but because they are powerful enough to control themselves. I know what that feels like because many people have experienced it. You give your best, and someone takes advantage of it. You stay loyal, and they call you naive. You work hard without complaining, and they think you have no ambition. You refuse to argue over every insult, and suddenly people believe you cannot defend yourself. The truth is, the strongest people are often the quietest. They do not need to prove themselves every hour of every day. They understand that energy is valuable, and they refuse to waste it on battles that lead nowhere. But here is where life becomes interesting. Every time someone underestimates you, they unknowingly hand you an opportunity. While they are busy judging who you are today, you are quietly becoming someone they will never be able to predict tomorrow. They lock you inside the image they created in their minds. They expect you to remain the same person forever. They never imagine that every challenge, every disappointment, and every disrespect is slowly building something stronger inside you. You have probably had moments when people spoke over you, ignored your ideas, laughed at your dreams, or treated your kindness like permission to cross your boundaries. Maybe you stayed silent because you valued the relationship more than winning the argument. Maybe you walked away because protecting your peace mattered more than proving a point. That decision was not weakness. It was maturity. It takes far more strength to walk away from unnecessary conflict than to react to every provocation. Never let someone else's opinion become your identity. The labels people place on you usually reveal more about their limitations than yours. They see only what is visible. They cannot see the discipline you are building when no one is watching. They cannot hear the conversations you have with yourself during difficult nights. They cannot measure the resilience growing inside you every time life tests your patience. What they call weakness may actually be your greatest advantage because it keeps them blind to your potential. There is another lesson that changed the way I think. You do not have to announce your growth. You do not have to warn people that you are becoming stronger. Seeds do not make noise while they grow beneath the soil. Yet one day they become trees that survive storms. Your life works the same way. Quiet progress is still progress. Invisible growth is still growth. Just because nobody applauds your effort today does not mean it is meaningless. Keep learning, keep improving, keep showing up. Let your actions become your introduction. Some people only respect loud confidence because they have never witnessed quiet confidence. Quiet confidence does not seek attention. It seeks improvement. It is the person who keeps reading while others keep talking. It is the person who keeps training while others keep complaining. It is the person who keeps moving forward without needing the world to notice every step. Remember this whenever someone mistakes your patience for fear. Your restraint is not surrender. Your calmness is not weakness. Your kindness is not permission to disrespect you. They are qualities of someone who understands that true strength begins with mastering yourself before trying to master anything else. They thought your silence meant you were weak, but it was only the beginning of the strength they never saw coming. After people mistake your kindness for weakness, something begins to change inside you. Not overnight and not in a dramatic way. It happens quietly. It happens after enough disappointments, enough broken promises, enough moments when you realize the world is not always fair. That is how transformation begins. People often ask where strength comes from, but they are asking the wrong question. Strength rarely comes from comfort. It almost always comes from pain. Think about the strongest people you have ever met. Their confidence was not built during easy seasons. Their wisdom did not come from constant success. Their resilience was not created by applause. It was forged through failure, rejection, heartbreak, and countless moments when giving up seemed easier than moving forward. Pain has a way of introducing you to parts of yourself that comfort never could. Many people spend their lives trying to avoid pain. I understand why. Nobody enjoys disappointment. Nobody wants to feel betrayed by someone they trusted or overlooked after giving everything they had. But if you change the way you look at pain, you also change the way you look at your future. Every difficult experience is asking you a question. Will this break you, or will this build you? The answer is never found in what happened to you. It is found in what you decide to become because of it. There is a dangerous belief that difficult people create monsters. I see it differently. Difficult people reveal hidden strength. They force you to develop patience you never knew you had. They force you to become independent when no one is willing to help. They force you to stop relying on luck and start relying on discipline. Without realizing it, they become unwilling teachers in your journey. Think about every setback you've faced, the opportunity you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the business that failed, the friend who walked away. At the time, each one probably felt like the end of the story. But when you look back years later, you realize those moments were not endings at all. They were turning points. They redirected your focus. They sharpened your thinking. They pushed you toward a version of yourself that comfort would never have created. The greatest mistake you can make is allowing pain to become your identity. Pain is a visitor, not a permanent address. Too many people build their lives around what hurt them. They replay old conversations, old betrayals, old failures until they become prisoners of yesterday. But your past should be a classroom, not a prison. Learn the lesson, take the wisdom, and leave the suffering behind. I have always believed that every challenge carries two gifts. The first gift is obvious. It teaches you what doesn't work. The second gift is hidden. It shows you what you are truly capable of. Most people quit before they discover that second gift. They leave just before the breakthrough. They surrender just before the transformation. They never realize that their hardest season was preparing them for their greatest opportunity. When people push you to your limits, they expect you to collapse. They expect you to stay bitter. They expect you to spend your life proving them wrong. Don't give them that satisfaction. Instead, surprise them by becoming someone who no longer needs revenge because success has become your answer. Let your growth speak louder than your anger. Let your consistency become stronger than your frustration. The world may call that becoming a monster, but I don't see a monster. I see someone who finally stopped allowing pain to control their life. I see someone who decided to convert every insult into motivation, every failure into experience, every rejection into direction. That is not darkness. That is maturity. That is emotional strength. That is what happens when you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? One day, the same people who thought they had broken you will wonder how you became so strong. They will never understand that every obstacle they placed in your path became another brick in the foundation of your future. They thought pain would destroy you, but it became the fire that forged the person they could never defeat. After pain changes the way you see the world, something even more important begins to happen. You stop talking so much about what you are going to do, and you simply start doing it. This is where most people lose sight of you. They think nothing has changed because they cannot see anything dramatic on the surface. But the greatest transformations in life are almost always invisible in the beginning. We live in a world that celebrates announcements more than actions. People love to tell everyone about their next big goal, their next business, their next chapter, or their next dream. There is nothing wrong with sharing your vision, but never confuse talking with progress. A seed does not announce that it will become a tree. It simply grows, day after day, beneath the soil where no one is watching. It develops roots strong enough to survive storms that have not even arrived yet. Your life follows the same principle. There comes a season when your greatest responsibility is not to impress people, but to improve yourself. That season can feel lonely because the applause disappears. The attention fades, the phone becomes quieter, invitations become fewer. Sometimes you even question whether anyone notices your effort anymore. But that is exactly the environment where real growth begins. When nobody is watching, your habits reveal who you truly are. Can you keep learning when there is no audience? Can you stay disciplined when no one is giving you credit? Can you wake up with purpose even when yesterday gave you no reward? Those are the questions that separate temporary motivation from lasting transformation. I have learned that silence can become one of your greatest advantages. While others are busy explaining themselves, You are busy improving yourself. While they are comparing their lives with everyone around them, you are comparing today's version of yourself with yesterday's version. That is the only competition that truly matters. There will always be people who assume that because they cannot see your progress, you are standing still. Let them believe that. Never interrupt someone who is underestimating you. Sometimes the greatest strategic advantage is allowing people to believe you are exactly where they left you, while every single day you are quietly becoming someone they would never recognize. Think about an athlete preparing for a championship. Most people only notice the victory. They celebrate the trophy, the applause, and the success. Very few people think about the mornings when nobody was cheering, the evenings when exhaustion felt overwhelming, or the countless hours of repetition that happened in complete silence. Yet those unseen moments are the real reason victory becomes possible. Life works no differently. Your private discipline creates your public success. The books you read when no one recommends them. The skills you practice when nobody demands them. The extra effort you give after everyone else has stopped. These quiet decisions seem small in the moment, but over time they create an extraordinary difference. There is another reason silence matters. It protects your energy. Every dream attracts opinions. Some people will encourage you, but many will project their own fears onto your vision. They will tell you it cannot be done because they have never done it. They will question your direction because they cannot see your destination. If you spend your energy answering every doubt, you will have less energy left to build the life you actually want. Instead, let your work become your language. Let your consistency answer the criticism. Let your results speak where your words no longer need to. There is a confidence that comes from knowing you have done the work, and no opinion can take that away from you. The interesting thing is that one day everything changes. The same people who believed you had stopped growing suddenly notice your progress. They wonder where your confidence came from. They ask how you became so skilled, so focused, so resilient. They think it happened overnight because they only saw the moment your success became visible. They never witnessed the months or years of invisible effort that made that moment possible. Remember this whenever you feel discouraged because no one notices your hard work. The world often celebrates the harvest, but forgets the season spent planting, watering, and waiting. Never measure your progress by the amount of attention you receive. Measure it by the person you are becoming every single day. One day they will call it sudden success, but only you will know it was built in the silence they chose to ignore. By now, you have probably realized something important. The greatest change in your life did not happen because you became angrier. It happened because you became more disciplined. That is a lesson many people never learn. They believe power comes from intensity, from shouting louder, reacting faster, or intimidating everyone around them. But real power is much quieter than that. It does not need to announce itself because it is built on control, not chaos. Anyone can lose their temper. Anyone can make a decision in the heat of emotion. Anyone can promise revenge after being hurt. Those reactions require no training. They are automatic. Discipline, however, is different. Discipline asks you to remain focused when emotions are pulling you in every direction. It asks you to continue working when motivation disappears. It asks you to stay committed to your purpose even when nobody is encouraging you. When people say they wanted a monster, they usually imagine someone consumed by anger. But anger is predictable. Anger burns quickly. It makes people careless. It clouds judgment. It convinces people to win small battles while losing the larger war. A person who is controlled by anger is not dangerous for long, because eventually that anger controls them instead. The truly unstoppable person is the one who has learned to master themselves. Imagine two people facing the same insult. One reacts immediately, raising their voice, trying to prove their strength. The other listens, stays calm, smiles, and returns to building their future. Months later, one is still trapped in arguments, while the other has quietly built a life that speaks for itself. Which one is truly powerful? I have always believed that your greatest competition is not another person. It is the weaker version of yourself that still wants comfort over growth, excuses over responsibility, and temporary pleasure over lasting success. Every morning you wake up, you face that opponent. Every decision either strengthens your future or weakens it. Nobody else can make those choices for you. This is why discipline is so valuable. It removes the need to depend on your feelings. Some days you will feel inspired. Other days you will feel exhausted. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, your progress will always be inconsistent. But when discipline takes control, you keep moving regardless of how you feel. You read because learning matters, not because you are in the mood. You train because your future deserves it, not because it is easy. You continue because quitting is no longer an option. People often ask what separates successful individuals from everyone else. They expect the answer to be talent, intelligence, or luck. Those qualities can help, but they are rarely the deciding factor. Consistent discipline will outperform occasional brilliance almost every time. Small actions repeated every single day create results that dramatic efforts performed once in a while never can. There is also a freedom that comes with discipline. It frees you from constantly reacting to the opinions of others. When you know exactly who you are and exactly where you are going, criticism loses much of its power. Praise no longer distracts you, and negativity no longer defines you. You become steady. You become reliable. You become someone who cannot be easily shaken because your foundation is built on habits instead of emotions. People may misunderstand your calmness. They may think you have become cold or distant. The truth is much simpler. You have stopped allowing every outside event to control your inner world. You choose your responses instead of surrendering them. That is not weakness. That is emotional maturity. That is leadership. The strongest people are not those who win every argument. They are the ones who no longer need to argue to prove their worth. As your discipline grows, something unexpected happens. Fear begins to disappear. Not because life becomes easier, but because you trust yourself. You know that whatever challenge appears tomorrow, you have already developed the habits needed to face it. Confidence is not built by hoping for easy days. It is built by repeatedly proving to yourself that you can handle difficult ones. So if the world expected you to become a monster driven by rage, surprise them instead. Become someone far more powerful, a person whose emotions serve their purpose instead of controlling their destiny. The most dangerous person is never the one ruled by anger, but the one who has mastered themselves through unwavering discipline. Once you begin to master yourself, another challenge appears, one that is far more subtle than failure or rejection. It is the temptation to keep explaining yourself to people who have already decided who you are. This is where many strong people lose their energy. They spend years trying to convince the wrong audience that they have changed, that they are capable, that they deserve respect. But let me ask you something. If someone has already made up their mind about you, how much of your life are you willing to spend trying to rewrite the story inside their head? There comes a moment in every person's journey when you must accept a difficult truth. Not everyone wants to see you grow. Some people were comfortable with the version of you that doubted yourself. They enjoyed the version of you that always said yes, never challenged them, and never outgrew them. As long as you stayed small, they felt big. As long as you questioned yourself, they never had to question themselves. The moment you begin changing, the relationship changes. Suddenly they say you have become different. They tell you that you have changed too much. They accuse you of becoming distant, selfish, or difficult. But what they are really saying is something else. They are saying they no longer benefit from the old version of you. Growth has a strange way of exposing people's expectations. Some celebrate your progress because they genuinely care about your future. Others become uncomfortable because your progress reminds them of the risks they never took. Your courage becomes a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see in that reflection. Do not misunderstand this. You should always remain respectful. You should always remain humble. But humility does not mean allowing yourself to be controlled by opinions that were never built on truth. There is a difference between listening to wise advice and becoming a prisoner of constant approval. The first helps you grow. The second keeps you standing still. One of the greatest freedoms you will ever experience is the day you stop needing everyone to understand your decisions. You realize that your purpose does not require universal agreement. Your dream does not become less valuable because someone laughed at it. Your direction does not become wrong simply because it is unfamiliar to others. Think about how much energy people waste trying to defend every choice they make. They explain why they started a business. They explain why they ended a relationship. They explain why they changed careers. They explain why they spend time learning new skills. The more they explain, the more opinions they invite. Meanwhile, the people who are actually making progress are usually too busy building their future to debate it. There is something powerful about quiet confidence. It does not feel the need to win every conversation. It understands that time is limited. Every minute spent arguing with someone determined to misunderstand you is a minute stolen from the life you are trying to create. Remember, your actions will always carry more weight than your explanations. You can spend years telling people who you are, or you can spend those same years becoming the person they cannot ignore. Results have a language that excuses will never speak. Success has a way of ending conversations that arguments never could. As your life changes, your circle may also change. Some people will naturally drift away. Do not fear that. Every chapter of growth requires space for new opportunities, new relationships, and new perspectives. Holding on to people who only value your past may prevent you from reaching your future. Never feel guilty for protecting your peace. Never apologize for setting healthy boundaries. Never shrink your ambitions just to make someone else feel comfortable. You were not given your talents to keep them hidden. You were not given your potential so others could feel secure in your limitations. The people who truly belong in your life will not fear your growth. They will encourage it. They will challenge you to become even better. They will celebrate your victories without feeling threatened by them. Those are the voices worth listening to. Everyone else is simply noise. Stop explaining your transformation to those who needed you to remain the same, and let your life become the answer they never expected. Now we arrive at the final part of this journey, and this is where everything comes together. If someone looked at your life from the beginning, they might think this story is about becoming a monster. After all, they saw the pain, they saw the betrayal, they saw the rejection. They saw the moments when people underestimated you and tried to convince you that you would never become anything more than what they imagined. They expected those experiences to fill you with bitterness. They expected anger to become your identity, but they misunderstood the entire process. The goal was never to become a monster. The goal was to become someone who could never be broken by the same things again. There is a huge difference between becoming hard and becoming strong. A hard person closes their heart to the world. A strong person protects it without losing their humanity. A hard person trusts no one. A strong person learns to trust wisely. A hard person is driven by revenge. A strong person is driven by purpose. That difference changes everything. When people say they wanted a monster, I hear something deeper. I hear a story about expectations. They expected your failures to define you. They expected your disappointments to weaken you. They expected every obstacle to convince you to quit. Instead, every obstacle became another lesson. Every setback became another chapter of your education. Every difficult season quietly prepared you for responsibilities you were not yet ready to carry. You no longer wake up trying to prove people wrong. That is too small a goal. Your focus has become much greater than that. You wake up each day asking yourself one question. How can I become a better version of the person I was yesterday? That question changes your entire life because it shifts your attention away from the crowd and back toward your own growth. The strongest people I have ever known are not obsessed with winning arguments. They are obsessed with winning over their own excuses. They understand that excuses are comfortable, but they are also expensive. Every excuse costs you time. Every excuse steals an opportunity. Every excuse quietly convinces you to accept a life that is smaller than the one you are capable of creating. Imagine what happens when someone completely removes excuses from their life. They stop blaming their past. They stop blaming other people. They stop waiting for perfect timing. They stop waiting to feel ready. They simply begin. They move forward one decision at a time, one habit at a time, one improvement at a time. It does not look dramatic in the beginning, but over months and years, the results become impossible to ignore. This is why discipline has been the real hero of your journey. Discipline carried you when motivation disappeared. Discipline kept you moving when nobody believed in you. Discipline reminded you that progress is built through consistency, not emotion. It transformed your pain into wisdom, your silence into confidence, and your setbacks into preparation. Now, when challenges appear, you no longer panic. You have already survived enough storms to know that difficult moments do not last forever. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" you ask, "What is this preparing me for?" That single change in perspective makes you unstoppable because every obstacle becomes part of your training instead of becoming an excuse to quit. And perhaps the greatest victory of all is this: you still have your character. The world may have tested your patience, but it did not steal your values. It may have challenged your confidence, but it did not destroy your integrity. You learned to stand firm without becoming cruel. You learned to protect your peace without losing your compassion. You learned to become powerful without forgetting what it feels like to struggle. That is the kind of strength the world rarely expects. It is easy to become angry. It is much harder to become wise. It is easy to seek revenge. It is much harder to build a life so meaningful that revenge no longer matters. Real success is not watching other people fail. Real success is becoming someone your past self would hardly recognize. So let them keep believing they created a monster, if that helps them sleep at night. You know the truth. They did not create someone consumed by darkness. They created someone who refused to surrender, refused to make excuses, refused to stay small, and refused to let pain write the final chapter. They wanted a monster, but what they unleashed was an unbreakable soul, guided by purpose, strengthened by discipline, and impossible to stop.